Welcome to Barnstorming with Jason Ringenberg. This is the third installment of our little video program we're doing. Really enjoying it a lot. Today's a very special installment of this series. Today I am at my dear friend and music collaborator George Bradfute's studio, the Tone Chapperal in Nashville, Tennessee. Now for those of you who don't know, and many of you do, you've commented on this as I've talked to you on the road about my music, how important George Bradfute is to my music and to musicians all over Nashville. He's an absolute treasure, and his studio here is just so fantastic. For starters, this studio was actually Jim Reeves' old house. That's right, and George bought Jim Reeves' house, made it into a studio. That's so cool. For example, these tiles down here, Jim Reeves put those tiles in many, 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 many years ago, decades ago, that's for sure. So George's place is what all us musicians dream that we had, and very few of us ever get there. It's a place totally dedicated to music. It's all about music. And it's not planned that way. That's just the way George lives. George lives for music, and it's not a contrived sort of thing that he puts guitars to make them look cool on his wall. He just loves music. So here, all over is just these cool little instruments, you know, all over this place. There, look at this thing. Wow, that's like a 12-string mandolin or something. I'm not exactly sure what this even is. And there's stuff like that all over George's studio. You know, there's like, you know, bongos here. Look at all these old amps. Great stuff. A wall of violins here. Sorry it's very dark here, folks, but you know, this is a studio, so you'll just have to live with the darkness. Here is the vocal booth, which I've sang so many songs in my life here. You know, this is where we usually set up a mic right here, and I do the singing. I have so many memories here at the Tone Chapperal. Almost all the Farmer Jason work was done here. Most of the Jason Ringenberg work was done here. You know, songs like Bible in a Gun, American Reprieve, Half the Man, and all those cool Farmer Jason songs, you know, were recorded here. You know, Punk Rock Skunk and just all Forest Drums and all those wonderful songs that launched the whole Farmer Jason world so many years ago. All of it was done with George. Not only is George a great producer and a great engineer, he's a fantastic musician. He can play literally everything I need on my records except drums. And during this current pandemic, I'm doing a new record and recording some new music, and George has played almost everything on it. He has that level of talent. A talented producer, engineer, and musician. He's an absolute treasure. So many cool things here in George's place. You know, it's just, you know, like look at this. What the heck is this guitar? I'm not even sure what it is, but you know, George just found this at some garage sale or at a pawn shop or something and bought it and gave it a home here at the Tone Chapperal. A great guitar there. I don't want to drop it, so I'll just kind of let it put it over here. I don't want to drop stuff. That's for sure. You know, he has old Wurlitzer organ over here. You know, LPs everywhere. It's just a fantastic place if you're a musician to hang out. When I step out into the studio here at George's, all my cares and worries evaporate. It's that kind of place. I just immediately feel like a, you know, like a musical artist, like a recording artist when I step through these doors here and come into the studio. And I've had so many great experiences. It was right here with Addie, my daughter, who is actually filming this. Say hello, Addie.
Hey!
Addie Rose actually just did a harmony part in a song we just did for the new record. But anyway, this mic and this stool was where Steve Earle sang the duet part on Bible in a Gun. Steve Earle sang that part here that he did. He came down here, and I think he really loved the experience of being in George's studio. You know, we've had great times here. We'll talk more about them a little bit later. But over here in this part of the studio, of course, is the control room. George doesn't do the whole glass booth thing, you know, where the engineer and the producer are separate from the musicians. George's style is to be right here where the music is made, right when it's happening. So there's no glass booth. There's no, you know, anything to separate the engineer from the music makers. It's a really cool thing. And then George also can while he's mixing and recording, he can sometimes also play as well. He's able to do that. He's that kind of talented. So anyway, we're going over here. There's more stuff over here. Here's some guitars, some great Rickenbacker guitars. And, oh my goodness, there's George right there. Hello, George.
How you doing?
What do you have there, George?
Oh, I was just digging around and found this Crazy Horse pedal.
A Crazy Horse pedal. And, maybe we even have recorded a new song on the new record about Crazy Horse that I bet you might have even used that pedal on.
I know, we should plug this in and see how it fits with the song.
We just might do that. We just might just work. So anyway, George, how about we go over and sit down in your back corner there and maybe play a song or two,
Yeah.
maybe chat a little bit about stuff. Let's head
Okay.
on over. This is one of my favorite areas of George's studio. These wall of amps, all these cool vintage amps here, and it's just fantastic. Fantastic. So, George, tell us first, how did you find Jim Reeves' old house?
Well, I was looking for a house a long time ago, and this was on the internet back 20 years ago. When the internet was just really getting started, and I was looking up houses, with looking for something with a cool basement and in a little bit better neighborhood than where I was living, and this kept showing up on a search I was doing on the internet. So me and this friend of mine came out here and looked at it, and we looked at the upstairs of the house for like an hour, and went, this is great. It was all perfectly renovated and everything. And then the guy said, well, let me show you the rest of the house. And we were like, the rest of the house? So we came down the stairs, and there was all this. And it was like, oh, man, this is great. This is what I need for my studio. And the guy, the real estate agent said, you're a musician? I said, yeah. And he said, I'm looking for a place for a studio. And he goes, well, I'm a musician too. He said he was a bass player and played on countless country music hits in the 70s and 80s. His name was Don Smith. He's an upright bass player, and you can look him up. He's on all kinds of records. And so for the next 2 hours, we told stories about this and that and this and that. So I thought, okay, got to figure out a way to do this. So long story short, here I am.
Did you know coming over that it was Jim Reeves' old house?
Not till we pulled up in the front yard, and there was those sheets in the little box where you pull out a sheet and it describes everything in the house, and it's like, oh, this was Jim Reeves' house. And I didn't know anything about Jim Reeves, except, a couple of hit songs you'd heard way back when, Right. But just the space and the basement and everything about it's like, okay, this is exactly what I need here. So.
Wow. And just recently, you actually ran into Jim Reeves' assistant. And
Yeah.
Tell us about that.
Well, her name is Joyce Jackson, and she just lives right around the corner almost here. And I met her through some mutual friends, and she's 84 years old. She's about this tall. She's got more energy than all of us put together. And she's got so many stories. It's just hilarious. And so we've all gotten to be good friends over the last few years, and she'll have these dinner parties over at her house, and we'll all go over there, and she'll come over here and hang out and sit in, watch sessions happen every now and then. So she's just a hoot. She's written her own book about Jim Reeves and other celebrities that she's met over the years.
Right.
She's just a wonderful, wonderful human being.
Wow. Well, it's an interesting thing. I was thinking earlier that we've made a lot of music here. I've never really counted how many records and songs we've cut here, but a lot. Almost 20 years of music, and I don't think we've ever had a fight or even a sharp word.
No.
So, George, this new mix is terrible. You're ruining my career. What's that got into your mind? There's our first fight. So, one of my favorite memories here was when we cut Punk Rock Skunk.
Yeah.
And that was when Addie and Camille had a lot of friends, and we got them all down here to sing those crazy parts
Yes.
on the Punk Rock Skunk answers and stuff.
Yeah.
And that was just the funnest thing. I mean, we had, all these little kids in here. They were like 6 or 7,
Yeah.
and remember Victor Wooten was with Kyla Wooten. His daughter was friends with Addie.
Yeah.
And she was here on that. And Victor was just sitting out there, you know, in the studio watching it. And then, you know, you've done a lot of music here, George. But that was a day we actually had a gigantic pizza party after the session. Now, that doesn't always happen you know, here at the Tone Chapperal.
Yeah.
And a giant pizza party. Kids are running around all over, and somehow nothing got broke. That's a miracle, really. That's a miracle.
Yeah.
That nothing here was broke that day. We had at least 10 kids running around.
Yeah.
You know. So I definitely recommend you folks, you know, if you have kids, I'm sure you've heard Punk Rock Skunk, but if you haven't, just listen to the track of it. You can find it on Spotify or wherever music is sold. But George's production on that track is absolutely stunning. What you did on that to mix all those parts, there's so many vocal parts and so many cool instrumental parts, and how it's almost like Beach Boys level at the end of it in the fade. So listen to that, and just listen to, even if you know you don't want to hear Punk Rock Skunk again. You know, if you're a parent, you probably don't want to hear it again. But listen to the production on that, especially on the fade. It's absolutely astounding what George did that, and he did it all. All I can do is just sing some songs and play 3 or 4 chords. The musicianship on my records, Farmer Jason Ringenberg, is all because of this guy right here. The musicianship and the production. He did it, you know, from top down. Some songs, George plays everything except the drums. And even on a few Farmer Jason songs, you played drums. The Doggy Dance, you know, you played drums on that. You played drums on Doggy Dance. So.
Well, you just come over here with good songs, and it's real easy to just, there you go. They speak, and there you go. You know exactly what to do.
Well, you know.
And you play cool little stuff within your rhythms of your guitar. And it's like, oh man, listen to that right there. That's the thing. That's the heart of the song right there.
Well, I always, you know, feel honored when you will take a scratch guitar and we're going to use that. And I'm always like, oh gosh, George, you need to play that. And sometimes you'll use a part I do, and it's always a big high point of my sort of recording experience to think that, wow, I played that one guitar line on that one song. You know, on a record that George Bradfute, one of the great guitar players in Nashville,
and you'll sing the little hook melodies and stuff, and then I'll play it on a big guitar sound, you know.
Yeah.
So you've got the plan when you come over, man.
Well, thank you, George. It's a lot of folks will say what I say. That, you know, for example, you know, Richard Bennett, he's a, you know, ace producer, ace musician in Nashville, one of the A-list guys here in town. He produced Guitar Town, folks. He produced Guitar Town and played all those cool Steve Earle licks on that record. He records here. You know, this isn't a place that everybody's heard about. It's not it's not a trendy kind of thing. But year in and year out, George Bradfute always makes cool music here, and is always busy, always in demand. It's an amazing story. So, how about we play Punk Rock Skunk, George?
All right.
All right, let's do it. 1, 2, 3, go. Running down the highway, running down the line. I'm running wide open and I'm really feeling fine. Whipping at the fire and a crummy old guitar. I'm a rock and roller and I'm gonna be a star. I'm a punk. I'm a punk. I'm a punk. I'm a punk. I'm a punk rock skunk. I'm a punk. I'm a folks. George Bradfute. Big thanks to my daughter Addie Rose for filming this today. All the best to you folks. See you down on Old Country Road.